Okay. Looks like we're live in Zoom. And now we're live on. Are we? Yes, yay. Morning, everyone. My name is Sheila Corona. Welcome to New Light Streaming Love, which is where you're watching this. If you are watching it live, today is Tuesday, April the 22nd, 2025. And I will be uploading this later onto Sassy Seer Sheila. So if you're watching it there, it is not live. So I hope everyone had a nice Easter weekend. I did say that yesterday, but it dawned on me a little later that I guess there's something called Easter Monday, and a lot of folks would be still, I guess, celebrating. I don't know anymore. So at any rate, there's been a lot that's transpired and yet nothing has. So it's kind of weird. I'm feeling very odd. I didn't know until Fawn shared with me just as I was ending my live yesterday that the Pope died. And, you know, I don't know, it seems significant. Uh, there's a lot of different historical events that have taken place on these dates. April between 19th and 20th to the 22nd. A lot of different things over the many, many years, right? So I find it kind of interesting because I also, over the weekend, was reading where a couple of different esoteric things were talking about some big shifts had been made. Ooh, surrender to complete healing and surrender to your full power. Both came out. Very interesting. Given given again that we just had Easter. One of the biggest things I read over the last couple of days about this, newest, I guess, what different people are feeling of calling shifts or whatever. There's an account on X, I want to say, and it's an account that I hadn't ever really paid much attention to. Until I think it was Lisa brought it to my attention. Or maybe it wasn't Lisa. It might have been David. Yep, I think it was David called it to my attention. Yeah. And I'm feeling to share this with you if I can find it here. Nope. I guess it was Lisa actually. What's so interesting is that it is a thread called, I guess the person's name is B at Quantum Tumblr, right? And there was something, and I don't know that. Oh, come on. Of course, the minute I want to read it to you, I can't find it. Anyway, if you feel so drawn, I highly recommend this B at Quantum Tumblr. I've begun following them now, but they were talking about specifically about this reality and what it actually is, right? Um, and what we really are. And I think you'll find it very interesting. And what I'll do is I will, if I can figure out how, I will put a link to his account as a post on YouTube so that you can see it. Because I can't find the one I was specifically hoping to find, but it talked a lot about the reality. And I saw several different things over the weekend. Another person talking about having an experience of being in two different places at once, having an experience where his body stiffened up and all at once he was somewhere else, hearing a whole bunch of people having conversations around him, including the words "they are waking up," or and it happened like two or three times with him. It was very interesting, and if I can find it, I'll even do a short video about it where I play his video, because I think yesterday when I did the reading and The Guardian at the Gate came out, I feel like that was significant, and I didn't even really see it at that point, uh, except for me personally. But nothing is ever just for me personally. It is also for the collective, in varying different ways. Arvel Parrot came out. And I always see this as something to do with the throat chakra as well, communication. And so I think we're about to see a whole bunch of different things. I actually had a conversation with Lisa and her mother yesterday. We were talking about how back in the day, when, and I cannot unsee this. We were talking about wrestling and how in the late 80s, a big brouhaha came out about how it wasn't real. And some people were like arguing, yes, it is real, and no, it's not real, and it's just entertainment, and no, they really are real. It's really real, and that sort of thing. And then I find this morning that last night on Gutfeld, Glenn Jacobs, who used to play Kane, a big time wrestler in the WWE, and of course Tyrus, who is also a regular on Gutfeld, was the last. He was most recently the heavyweight champion for the NWA, or the world champion. I'm not quite sure. At any rate, they were talking last night, apparently, about a term called kayfabe, which had to do with stories being stories and not real. And I think that truth is being told in a manner in which those who are ready can see, sense, and feel that it's being told. Those who are not, it just kind of doesn't even, they don't see it, or they don't catch it, or they don't watch that program or whatever. But I could not get over the fact that we were actually speaking on Jesse Ventura having been a mayor, or no, the governor of Minnesota. And I had shared with those ladies, Lisa and her mother, that Glenn Jacobs, who was Kane, was a mayor in some Minnesota town. And then I find out that he's on Gutfeld last night. And they're talking about the very thing that we were discussing yesterday. And so is art imitating life or is life imitating art? What is going on here? You know what I mean? I think it's very interesting. And especially since this Arvel parrot has come out here for part of our reading. I'm really kind of interested to see what all does come out. Across the Waters from the Journey of Love deck. So I don't know, y'all. It's just so interesting. Oh, and again, I don't normally show myself the bottom of the deck, but Sweet Soul Rising wanted to be seen. So we're going to take that card too. So I did have to re-record what I said yesterday. I had recorded because I felt it, because there was something wrong with the recording. And but I did just put that out, and it's called Written Upon the Heart of a Midwife. It really didn't have a title. So, but the author had said something about that those words were written upon the heart of almost all midwives. So that's what I decided to name it. It was a public post on Facebook, and it actually was speaking to birth. However, it's actually a much deeper topic than just birth. This post was speaking to how the system of birthing babies is actually carefully engineered to cause fragmentation, which I wholeheartedly agree with. However, I have said for a very long time, and if you were a follower of Conscious Conversation Central, you will remember that I have said a lot of people try to claim that our systems are broken and they need to be fixed. They don't need to be fixed. Those systems aren't broken. They are working exactly as they were designed to work. The difference is we are waking up to the truth of that. And so I highly recommend that. And I invite anyone who would like to come and have conscious conversation about that topic to reach out to me, consciousconversationscentral@gmail.com. Let's get together. Let's start having these conscious conversations. Because a lot of, and I used to say this back then too, a lot of what the conspiracy theory circles were coming up with, I've felt for a very long time that the truther community and the light worker community, there needed to be a melding or a coming together. And I see that now more than ever, because all of those things have been designed most specifically using esoteric principles, symbologies, magic, spells, and that sort of thing. Belief systems, programming and conditioning, all a part of that. And so I would love to, have more folks come and have these conversations. So from the Divine Animal Oracle, we have fruit bat or flying fox, and the keyword kindness. Now, that card's never come out before. Very interesting, because honestly, kindness is something that has been missing in a lot of different systems. Kindness and caring, honestly. I had a conversation with a lady. See, I am currently calling around trying to find out if I can get on open waiting lists for housing vouchers because I'm older and on disability, so on a very limited income, and I qualify for those sorts of things, but the waiting lists in my area are all closed. And I found out that there are waiting lists open in other portions, not only of the country itself, but in North Carolina. And I could not so far get an answer as to whether or not I should be able to get on a waiting list anywhere in the country. Why must I reside in that state or in that county in order to be on an open waiting list? When all these other waiting lists in my area are closed and nobody seems to have the answer. And none of the social workers that I've spoken to so far seem to care to try to find out the answer. And so to me, that's a sign again of something missing, right? Oh, that one wanted to come out. Water, ocean, sun. Oh my. That's very interesting given this one is Sweet Soul Rising. And this one is Across the Waters. Okay, wow. Okay, so what do we have? Who wants to go first? Who wants to be read first? The fruit bat. Mm. The fruit bat, or also flying fox, card number 12. Is that a 12? Yep. So numerologically, that's a 3, the Trinity. Threes are always around me. Okay. The key word here is kindness. Choose kindness, which isn't always the easy way. Kindnesses will always be repaid. Consider others in your decisions, especially those with less power than you. Repay your debts, spread the seeds of goodwill, and your fortunes will grow. Oh, good morning, James. I'm so glad you could join us. The mythos here. Princess Litogi was royalty from the Samoan Islands. She was sent to Tonga to become the second wife of the king of Samoa at the time. This was not a love match, as she was sent as part of a peace treaty through marriage between kingdoms. Although sealing alliances through marriage was a common practice, often those wives were part of this kind of union. Often those wives that were part of this kind of union were treated badly and looked down upon by the community. One day, as she walked through the gardens, Lutogi discovered a baby bat that was sick and wounded. She was a kind and gentle woman, and in her mercy looked after the little bat until it was well again. She then released it back into its colony. This act didn't remain a secret, as the royal court watched everything Litogi did. The court laughed at her kindness and thought her weak and stupid, which made her an easy target when the king's fortunes declined. The royal court suggested that it was Lutogi who caused the king's problems, and they decided to kill her by burning her on a pyre. The flames were lit, and the flames rose to engulf Lutogi when suddenly the sky darkened. The baby bat and his family had not forgotten the kindness of the princess and had come to help her. Thousands upon thousands of bats flew above the fire, urinating down on the flames to extinguish them. Lutogi was saved, but her trials were not yet over. Frustrated, the Tongan kings exiled her to a very small island with nothing to eat. The island was completely barren, so the king and his court were sure that Lutogi would soon starve. Again, the fruit bats assisted her. They brought her food, including fruits and seeds, and they kept her happy with their smiling company. Soon, the island became one of fertility and plenty, as many of the bats made it their new home. The kind princess was very happy, and she became a goddess of plenty and fertility, and the patroness, protector of all bats. The animal. The Samoan flying fox, or Pteropus samoensis, is a protected animal in Tonga and Samoa because of this beautiful mythos. A mammal, it is the largest flying fox in the Pacific, with a wingspan of up to 1 meter. Unusually, this species does not form large colonies, but exists as monogamous pairs with children. Fruit bats, which are also known as flying foxes, play a key role in pollination and seed dispersal throughout their habitat. Rather than using sonar, they have keen eyesight and hearing, and they are also very intelligent. They suckle their young and are caring parents. The magic. Fruit bats are a vital part of the ecosystem, ensuring seeds are spread and fertility of the land is secured. The energy here is one of fertility and plentifulness. Invite flying fox energy into your workings when you wish to invoke more kindness or fertility. The symbology: fruit bats, seeds, baby bat. The status is of least concern but declining due to habitat loss. And I know here in North Carolina, we have bats here too. They're not, I don't think they're called fruit bats, but a lot of people are afraid of bats, and they actually keep the mosquito population down. So very interesting that. But I can't unsee this thing about kindness too. When I was just speaking to someone about, to that lady about kindness and caring, and how, you know, unless you know the right questions to ask, there isn't any information coming forward, right? Generally, when dealing with those kinds of situations. Okay, so Arvel Parrot wants to go next from the fairies, the fairies oracle. He's all about communication, and this is card number 50, which is a 5 numerologically. Yep, Arvel Parrot, the key word is communication. Arvel points to the light in his throat center. In esoteric lore, The energy center at the throat is about communication. Fairies are great communicators, though not necessarily in words as we use them. They speak through words, of course, but they also speak through the rustle of leaves, the pattern of clouds in the sky, the way flower petals fall. They tickle us with touches almost too subtle to feel, trying to get our attention. And they sometimes speak through our dreams and daydreams. Their communications are something like those of cats, part verbal, part body language, part telepathy, and part pure fairy. Arvel says that we humans can semaphore each other by flashing the lights in our throat centers. In fact, he says we do that and read the messages on an unconscious level, which is one of the ways we pick up on unspoken feelings and thoughts of each other. I think that's true. And I've referred to that as a form of telepathy. We have all had this idea implanted in our heads as to what telepathy would look like should it be, in use. However, I think it is in use. I think we all have it. It is not something special that just I think everybody has it. We fail to recognize it is what the problem is, in my view. James agrees. Well, I always call it out. Every time I ever witness anything remotely telepathic in nature, I call it out to the people involved. Oh, you pulled that right out of my head, honey. I was standing right here thinking that very thing, and now it came out of your mouth. That is telepathy. And I just share because why not? Call it to somebody's attention. Who cares if they think you're nuts? Because the truth is, it will cause them to think. And they will start noticing how true that actually is. I think, anyway. Arvel also says, and I agree, that almost any situation can be improved by people listening to each other. And that listening is a full half of good communication. The other half, of course, is speaking truly and clearly. Some people use speech as a game or as a test for others to see if they can puzzle out the meaning. And this is fairly fun as long as actual communication doesn't matter. When it does, though, it is helpful if we try for clarity at the very least, and hopefully wisdom as well. I feel too that is a matter of presence. And if one is truly present with another, then that listening skill is even more highly developed and comes to the fore even more. Arvel has many wise sayings to help us. Quote, "It takes two to say yes, but only one to say no. Where the stream is shallowest, greatest is the noise. He that always complains is never pitied. Better than gold is a tale rightly told. 'Tis easier to give advice than to take it. And from the place where deer are not, they're not easy to be got. Whoever burns his bottom must himself sit upon it." Well, enough of that. Arvel reminds us that good, clear communication is sometimes hard work. It requires elbow grease, Because the elbows are the secondary energy centers to the throat, he wishes you to know that his elbows are well greased. Clear communications are vitally important. Strive for verbal brilliance. Listen carefully. Be articulate. Be willing to calmly debate the issues and explore ideas with others. Open communication will enhance the chances of success all around. Arville also suggests that the querent watch for body language, and that's my next thing I was going to say. If the if at all possible, that's why I love to Zoom so much. I would much rather Zoom than have a telephone conversation. So much rather. I would rather have a phone conversation than a text, but my most favorite is in person, of course. But when all else fails, at least Zoom is the next best thing to being there. Arvos also suggests that the querent watch for body language, incomplete sentences, and unfinished thoughts, and try to discover what these signals are meant to get across. And I will share that for my money, keeping in mind that even though I'm speaking English, and James, you speak English as well, he said, in tune with the energy waveforms. True. I speak Sheila English and you speak James English. And there may be instances where words mean one thing to me that do not mean that to you. And I say this happens across the board, regardless of who you're dealing with, because the words that we understand, while we all may have the definition, the denotation of a word is quite different to the connotation of a word. And that is something that forms over time through experiences of the word, of the conversation the words were used in. It goes through our perception filters and it informs us in a particular way that may not be the same way for somebody else. So whenever I'm in conversation with folks, I always try to make sure that I am getting exactly what they mean, because I've seen all too often where arguments will ensue because we think we're saying different things when in fact we're saying the same thing, but just a little differently, or we're saying the same thing, but we understand it as something completely different. I've had that happen on both accounts. So it's something to keep. I try to keep it right here, because once you see that as a truth, you can't unsee it. And it actually makes a lot of communication that much easier. Now, I'm very fond of saying, okay, wait a minute. I think this is what you said. Is this what you meant when you said that? And chances are, no, especially if it's something that, yes, James said lenses and filters. Exactly correct. And that happens for all of us. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that keeping it right here as a truth has been very helpful for me. Very helpful for me. Okay, let's go with the hero's journey, because what we have here is be the bridge came out. Expand your consciousness to behold both worlds. Oh, well, isn't that interesting? Because that is a way of keeping one's communication, that knowledge about communication right there in the forefront. It affords one the ability to be able to understand what someone else is trying to communicate, especially if they're coming from a different place or a different world, so to speak. So, be the bridge. Card number 51, that is a 6 numerologically, which is all about love, harmony, and balance. And it says, expand your consciousness to behold both worlds. There's a quote here from Rainer Maria Rilke. Again and again, some people in the crowd wake up. They have no ground in the crowd, and they emerge according to broader laws. They carry strange customs with them and demand room for bold gestures. The future speaks ruthlessly through them. I totally get that. It may feel that no one understands you or what you've gone through. But remember, the higher self in everyone you interact with is rooting for your awakening. But will you stay awake or be lulled into sleepiness? You can't unsee the glory that you've seen. You can't unfeel the radiance you've felt. You can't unlearn the higher truths now encoded within your soul. Though you may feel like a stranger in a strange land, it's up to you to stay alert and feel, no, and turn awakened moments into minutes, hours, days, and a way of life. This is how you become a bridge from the special world to the ordinary world, so that as many people as want to can cross over. Wow, I was just speaking to that by calling it out when I see, sense, and feel a telepathic moment happening between myself and a complete stranger in a store, on the street, whatever, whenever it happens, right? That is what this is speaking to, I feel like. The dream symbol of a bridge symbolizes a no part of yourself gets left behind policy. A policy reflects, a bridge reflects your desire or attempt to keep a connection, whether it be between relationships, phases of your life, aspects of yourself, or what you've learned about how to bring wisdom down to earth. You are moving forward in your life, connecting the dots between who you were, who you are now, and who you are becoming. And the mantra associated with this card is all that I've learned forms a bridge from earth to heaven and back again. James said, I claimed that card. I love that. It reminds me of the description of the red spectral skywalker. Yes, I think you're right about that. Okay, so let's go on to the Journey of Love cards here, because 2 of those came out. And I think we're just going to do them in exactly the order they came out in. Card number 23, numerologically, that's a 5. So that gives us 2 5s. And 5 for me is all about change. Okay, so across the waters. And you know what's kind of interesting? Besides the fact that these 2 cards are both showing somebody rising, this one is showing across the waters. We also have, for me, I feel these 2 cards are actually mimicking each other a bit. There's something very significant about these two. When we read this one, we'll see what it says. Across the waters. You are being called across the waters. Well, that's, I guess, a bridge, isn't it? As if crossing a bridge, duh, of light from one ocean to a far greater one. These waters are your emotional waters, holding your feelings, your attitudes, your expectations, and your fears and doubts, as well as your hopes and dreams. It can seem like such a lot to navigate. Sometimes our waters feel overcrowded, as if swarms of people were descending into the ocean on a sweltering hot day. Hardly finding a space in the water to cool ourselves, we can feel as though there is just no room for faith, trust, peace, and love. There is just too much happening in that water. We yearn for the cool, calm mountain lake, serene, giving, echoing a gentle dispensation of grace. You are being called across the waters, out from an overcrowded sea into the cool spaciousness of the endless lake. I'm seeing the lake that was described in A Soul's Journey that I recorded and is in a playlist here on the channel. The lake where you can get in a boat and it just goes around in a circle and you just meditate. It's complete silence. That's interesting. I'm being shown that. So it's time to let go of some mental clutter, some attitudes, some thoughts. Ask for help and bathe yourself in the green and gold rays of healing color. Just imagine them cascading around you and through you like a waterfall. It's a bit like you're moving. Hang on. That was way too many pages. It's a bit like you're moving to. We're moving somewhere. Hang on a second. Come on, page. Stuck. There we go. Moving to a new neighborhood in a cleaner and more spacious town. It might be a bit unfamiliar at first, but soon enough, you'll enjoy the difference. This oracle brings you a message. It is your time to think about something in a different light. Soon you will have a shift in perspective, and the feeling of overwhelm, stress, and just too much going on will be replaced with serene trust and peacefulness. Know that beneath even the most chaotic mind is a place of deep, quiet serenity within. Do whatever helps you dive deep to find it. Dance, take some rest, meditate, do yoga, write, paint, make love, make music. In that quiet serenity within, you'll be leaving unnecessary chaos behind, and you'll be presented with the gift of a new way forward. Inhaling the soft scent of promised taste, the nectar moist upon my lips, I savor each sip across my tongue, dwelling in the moment's pleasure, warm and sweet. Bathed in tingling thirst, I find myself wanting you, wanting more. Well, I'm being shown what I'm getting ready to do this weekend. I've been asked to hold space for my friend Elena as she embarks upon, and I don't even know what it's called. It is a dance ritual of some sort. It's several days of fasting and doing ecstatic dance. I don't quite know, but I've been asked and I have accepted that. I felt called very much. You may remember last week, like the very day, last Wednesday, so a week ago tomorrow, the card that I read for the alchemy elementals was all about ancestor fire and tribal fire. And then I go to my wise woman meeting, and she's telling me about this ancestor tribal fire that she is going to take part in. And I knew immediately that there was something to that. And I shared with her that I had had a reading just that morning. And I even said that I could feel something there about it. And she went and saw the reading and then came back to me later and asked me. And I'm highly honored to do that. So beginning Friday morning, I won't be doing any readings until after that is complete, because I'll be spending those days in quiet reflection, holding space for her. And I that's very similar to exactly what we've talked here about. Ooh, and now I'm being shown too that I'm to surrender to my full power and complete healing, which are the two cards that came out here during that situation. So I can't wait. And then to have that conversation with her about her experiences. I'm going to be recording any and all impressions that I get while we're doing this. And then perhaps I'll be able to entice her to come and have a conscious conversation with me afterwards, whenever she feels up to it, and we can compare notes. And these are the kinds of beautiful, conscious things that I really am excited about doing. And so now this card showed itself to me. It didn't, it just, it came out after I had already shuffled. So card number 20, which is a 2 numerologically. Sweet soul rising. You may feel lost in your own thoughts and feelings. This is the sweetness of surrender into another world, which is exactly what I was just talking about. I'm going to be doing. So, ta-da! It's time to dream, to wonder, not to be clear and sharp right at this precise moment. If you have a clear plan, let it become soft and feel your heart open to allowing whatever may be. We might believe that it is through tough action and dynamic assertiveness that we make our way through the world. Yet sometimes the sweetness of the soul rises, and instead we can flow gently with the currents of the cosmic ocean, unsure of where we are headed, but safe in the truth that all waters naturally return to the ocean, where they are all wanting to go eventually anyway. I feel like that's true because aren't we told from very young, if in order to make something happen, you got to get out there and make it happen. Not always, let me just say. I've had a lot of pushing of myself in my life and didn't always work. As a matter of fact, almost hardly ever did it work for me. Being a projector, it's not meant to work like that. So you can use your own efforts to swim to your destination against the current at times, or you can float on the sweet love of your own soul as it enjoys the privilege of getting to know itself as one with the divine. That's where I am in these moments of now. That's all I'm interested in doing. This oracle brings you guidance now. Surrender and flow. This is not the time to assert your will and try to make things happen, no matter how much you may want to or believe that you should. Didn't we just say that? Didn't I just say that? I think I did. There is something bigger happening, and everything is going to turn out perfectly according to a far larger plan that includes your well being too, beloved. Sometimes we have to let go of our expectations about how that bigger plan will be achieved and just let it happen, trusting that it will actually take place even without us striving to make it so. This is one of those times. With innocence, I share my heart, a smile expressing with a tear, sweet words and feelings that impart everything that I hold dear. The promise of a blossom high, the air is bathed in fragrant scent. To reach the sun, you have to fly. Desire wells with love that's meant. To wait for heaven's soft embrace, a fruit so firm and succulent, God's promise must remain so chaste, while passion's glow is slowly spent. Such patience born with time's insight, my soul doth burn in embers light, and savors fresh and moist and ripe, the gift of love when it is right. Wow, come on. In light of all these other cards, that's very interesting to me that this one show itself to me. And this one, I still can't even get over the fact that these two cards, they're even facing the same direction, by the way. Isn't that interesting? So now this is the last card to be read. Let's see what it has to say. From the Alchemy Elementals. Oh, and it's card number 22. That's very interesting. And it is Water, Ocean, Sun. Water, Ocean, Sun. It's card number 22. Nope. Wait a minute. I didn't have the right one. And it's on page number 36, which is a 9. $36. You did not come to this planet to suffer, my love. You came here to sing and laugh, to play and love and create. Nothing awakens magic and possibility quite like joy does. I would say that's a true statement. Heartfelt joy is expansive and infectious. The more joy you embody, the more joy you create, and the more joy you spread among your tribe. This is how we uplift the world, by filling our own cups and vibrating joy out into the world while bringing beautiful, life enhancing experiences into our lives, which create more pleasure and more ease. Joy opens up doorways of possibility that move mountains and manifest miracles. What brings you joy? Do more of that, dear one. Lots more. And oh my God, I end almost every video with that, don't I? Because I'm just convinced that that is our purpose. That is our entire purpose. For anybody out there who bemoans, but what is my purpose? I don't know what my purpose is. Find what brings you joy. I've often said, imagine, just for a moment, imagine if every being on this planet found what brought them joy and only did that, how beautiful life here would be. And I know there's all kinds of people who say, well, we can't do that. Not everybody can do that. Somebody's got to take out the trash. Trust me, somebody don't mind taking out the trash in the midst of having joy. Ask me how I know this. I take out the trash and I do it joyfully. So I don't know, man. I personally, I feel like that is our purpose. And that's the end of it. That is what we are here to do. Radiate joy. I mean, just what if? At any rate, I hope this was helpful for you because it sure was for me. I just love these readings anymore. They just seem so very powerful over the last, I don't know, couple of months here, actually. At least 2 to 3 weeks, I feel like the timbre of these readings has changed. Maybe it's my own inner joy that I'm radiating. I don't know. Got to remove the trash, make room for treasure. Well, that and one man's trash is another man's treasure. I mean, honestly, it is. And like I said, I don't know, man. I think there are so many beautiful ways to look at things. And so I hope that you found something within this reading for yourselves. I know I sure did. Surrender to your full power. Surrender to complete healing. There's no reason we can't. I can't get over how this whole reading actually. At any rate, I hope that you will continue to move towards that which brings you joy in each moment that presents itself to you. It truly is just a matter of your perspective and your perception of your perspective. And if you don't feel joy, give yourself a couple of minutes. Back up, try to look at it from a different angle and see if you can't find something else, another way to look at it that brings you a higher joy than you were seeing the first time. I bet you can. I believe in you. Until we meet again, my friends, I hope you will be well. Mwah.